The honourable member for Cloverdale, Langley City.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much. I'm proud to say that I'm visiting the unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation from the traditional and unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Katzie, Kwantlen, Matsqui, and Semiahmoo First Nations. I'd like to thank Her Excellency Mary Simon, our new Governor General, for her statements concerning reconciliation in the speech from the throne. Madam Speaker, I'll be splitting my time today with my colleague, the member from St. John's East. Madam Speaker, this throne speech echoes so much of what I heard at the doors this past summer, including the several points that follow, such as pushing forward positive, diverse, and inclusive politics, getting beyond the pandemic, moving forward faster on the path to reconciliation, addressing biodiversity loss through increased protection of our lands and waters, setting and acting on ambitious climate targets, and addressing inflation and the rising cost of living, including two priority areas, these being creating $10 a day childcare across Canada and implementing a comprehensive plan on housing. This last issue, the issue of affordability, is a top priority in Cloverdale Langley City. As the second youngest riding, population-wise, in British Columbia, action on housing affordability and $10 a day childcare will have huge positive impacts on our community. As a resident of British Columbia, an area that has been seriously affected this past year by extreme heat, fire, and now floods caused by back-to-back atmospheric rivers, climate action, including adaptation and resilience, has never been so urgent. As someone with extensive background with Parks Canada, the need to address the loss of biodiversity has never been so apparent. The loss of habitat, the heat dome, wildfires, and as I speak, the devastating floods in BC demonstrate that we cannot afford to wait. Cloverdale Langley City is a diverse riding consisting of many faith groups, cultural and linguistic identities, and people from backgrounds from around the country and around the globe. In the last election, voters called for the next Member of Parliament and government to create an inclusive future that holds diversity as a symbol of strength, and our cabinet is the most reflective of Canada in Canada's history. I heard loud and clear that our government needs to be more ambitious on climate change, and we demonstrated that ambition at COP26. Voters called for more affordable and accessible childcare, and our government is ready to work with BC to cut costs in half by 2022 and create 40,000 additional spaces. This will be transformative and so important in the community of Cloverdale Langley City. I heard door after door, that a legitimate housing plan which addresses the insufficient housing supply and makes buying a house more affordable is needed. And we created a housing minister to act swiftly on our housing plan. We're going to help put home ownership back in reach for Canadians with a more flexible first-time home buyer incentive, a new rent-to-own program, and by reducing closing costs for first-time home buyers. The throne speech reiterated and advanced our commitment to reconciliation. It recognized that, and I am quoting, "Reconciliation is not a single act, nor does it have an end date. It is a lifelong journey of healing, respect, and understanding. We need to embrace the diversity of Canada and demonstrate respect and understanding for all peoples every day. This is the commitment we need." When I was elected to the 42nd Parliament, my private member's bill C-374 passed unanimously in this House and was to implement a call to action from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's Call to Action 79. Unfortunately, my bill died in the Senate, but I'm committed to continue pushing along and participating in initiatives to further reconciliation. The speech from the throne also illustrates the urgency in finishing the fight against COVID. We acted quickly with the federal vaccine mandate, and we will act quickly to support those who are still financially impacted by COVID-19, while ensuring businesses continue to drive our country's economic recovery. We will continue to support provinces in the delivery of vaccines, including for children, to ensure we get everyone who wants a vaccine vaccinated as quickly as possible. Mr. Speaker, immigration is another focus in the speech from the throne that is so important to my riding. Whether it is increasing immigration levels to meet labour demands, reducing wait times to make the process easier for approved applications, family reunification to bring families together again, or a world-leading refugee resettlement program that helps the most oppressed, these are all important issues in Cloverdale Langley City. Business owners in my riding, like many throughout the rest of Canada, have come to me about labour shortages. I've already had conversations with them about how we can use our immigration system to help ease their shortages. Family reunification continues to be important for my constituents and is a policy I continue to fully support. Reducing wait times is particularly important at this time. The beginning of COVID recently caused a significant slowdown, but now we must reduce those wait times. This is critical for driving our economy and for reuniting families. New Canadians deserve to be reunited with their families and loved ones. They bring economic empowerment and strengthen diversity and inclusion. I've witnessed this firsthand in my community. Over the last several years, my community has grown to be one that is culturally diverse. We've benefited from this. As a member of Parliament in the 42nd Parliament, I held interfaith meetings in Cloverdale-Langley City where we learned from each other and grew stronger as a community, and I've committed to holding these interfaith meetings yet again in this Parliament. This throne speech reflects many of the commitments I made to Cloverdale-Langley City in my local platform. Our government's infrastructure investments will help deliver SkyTrain to Langley City, a much-needed transit lane that will shorten commuting times, reduce emissions, and better connect the Lower Mainland. I will work with provincial and municipal partners to ensure the SkyTrain and other projects that support the current and future needs of Cloverdale-Langley City are prioritized and completed. This throne speech reaffirms our government's support for positive politics. I will take immediate action to restore positive, progressive, and inclusive politics to Cloverdale-Langley City so everyone can feel safe, respected, and included, regardless of race, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, ability, or income. I'm working to convene a Fairness, Diversity, and Inclusion Council to create solutions that reduce inequality in our community. The Council will provide advice and insight so I can tackle the inequalities that Cloverdale-Langley City residents are facing. The throne speech highlighted the urgency backed by investments to transition to a green economy. With these announcements, I will ensure Cloverdale-Langley City is included and leads in the emerging green economy. I'll promote real climate change solutions and work with the BC Centre for Innovation and Clean Energy to secure investments in clean, zero-emission technologies and create sustainable jobs in Cloverdale-Langley City. This year, more than ever, has illustrated how both adaptation and mitigation policies are needed in our riding of Cloverdale-Langley City, in our province of BC, in our country of Canada, and indeed globally. Our government is committed to reconciliation with Indigenous communities. I have the same commitment for Indigenous peoples in the constituency for whom I have been elected to represent. I'll be pursuing, with appropriate consultations, an Indigenous-led urban cultural space and service delivery centre in Cloverdale-Langley City for Indigenous peoples, particularly Indigenous persons living in our urban and suburban neighbourhoods. I'll work with Indigenous leaders and local partners to create a place for delivery of Indigenous services and celebration of Indigenous culture in Cloverdale-Langley City. I'll also advocate for federal support for local Indigenous history, education programs, and cultural celebrations. We've committed to supporting communities that thrive as our economy roars back from COVID-19. Part of the strategy in my community will be supporting the development of the performing arts in our region. I'll secure federal support for accessible, sustainable spaces where the residents of the Lower Fraser Valley can celebrate and experience our vibrant performing arts community. This will become a cultural and arts centre for the greater region and will fill a much-needed void in our rapidly growing community. Fighting for the needs of the agricultural sector and farmers will continue in this Parliament. In Cloverdale-Langley City, I've already worked to start consulting with an agricultural advisory council of farmers and other agricultural industry partners to share insights and advice to ensure that there is support for strong and sustainable agriculture in Cloverdale-Langley City. Our government's support for mental health and drug addiction was reiterated in the speech from the throne. Both, especially finding solutions to drug addiction, is critical for my province and many in my community. We must work quickly and fiercely to end the opioid crisis that has taken too many lives. This throne speech represents our ambitious plan to make life more affordable, reduce our emissions while building an economy for the future, and act on reconciliation. As we resume this work in Parliament, I'll be listening and advocating for my constituents. For every step of progress we make in this House, I will fight to have that progress delivered to Cloverdale-Langley City. Most important to me is that this is the moment we stand up for diversity and inclusion. When I heard the former Conservative member in Parliament for Cloverdale-Langley City use scripture to attack the 2SL LGBTQ QIA+ community and lesbian activity with derision in this very chamber, I knew that my work was not done. I believe that I've received such a proud level of support as I fight for this sort of inclusion. And so, Madam Speaker, as I wrap up, this is why I'm proud to be back. These are all of the reasons why I believe that this speech from the throne will help the residents of Cloverdale, Langley City. Thank you, Madam Speaker.